My parents told me they would only need my house for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. That was the entire deal. I agreed because they were going through a difficult period, and honestly I thought helping them was the right thing to do. What I didn't expect was my sister showing up 2 weeks later with a moving truck. She walked into my house carrying a cardboard box, looked around my living room, and then pointed toward the hallway. "Which room is the home office?" I stared at her. "Why?" She gave me this strange look like I was the one being difficult. "Because I'm taking it." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. I just genuinely thought she was joking. Then my mother walked into the room and said, "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." That was the moment I realized something had happened while I was at work. Something my parents hadn't told me. And by the end of that week, I would discover they had made plans for my house that didn't involve me at all. I'm 34 years old, and I work remotely as a software engineer. About a year ago I bought my house. It wasn't some huge mansion. It was a 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood, with a small backyard, a garage, and a home office that I had spent months setting up. The house was expensive, but I could afford it. I paid the mortgage myself. Utilities, insurance, repairs, groceries, everything. My parents, Linda and Mark, are both in their late 50s. They had always been reasonably supportive of me, but they weren't exactly wealthy. My dad had retired early after a back injury, and my mom worked part-time at a school. They rented a small house outside the city. Then their landlord decided to sell the property. They had about 6 weeks to leave. First, they planned to rent another place. But rental prices in our area had gone up dramatically. One night my mother called me. She sounded exhausted. She told me they couldn't find anything they could comfortably afford. I thought about it for a few minutes. Then I said, "You can stay with me temporarily." There was silence on the phone. Then my mother started crying. I told them they could stay for 3 weeks while they figured things out. Maybe 4 if they genuinely needed more time. But I made one thing very clear. This is temporary. I need my office because I work from home, and I need my privacy. My parents agreed immediately. My dad even joked, "Don't worry, we'll be invisible." I should have known that was going to age badly. The first week was actually fine. They moved in with 6 boxes, some clothes, and a few pieces of furniture. I gave them the guest bedroom. My mom used the bathroom across the hall. My dad spent most of his time watching television downstairs. They didn't interfere with my work. They didn't complain. And they thanked me constantly. So I relaxed. I thought maybe everyone had been worrying for nothing. Then little things started changing. My mom began rearranging things in the kitchen. She moved my dishes. She threw away some food because she said it was unhealthy. Then she started buying groceries without asking me. One evening, I came home and found my living room furniture had been moved. I asked why. Mom said, "It looked better this way." I reminded her that it was my house. She looked offended. "Obviously we know that." I let it go. Then my dad started using my garage. He moved several of my storage boxes around and put his tools everywhere. Again I said something. Again I got the same response. "We're just trying to make ourselves comfortable." That sentence became their answer to everything. 2 weeks after they moved in, I came home from work and saw a moving truck parked outside. First, I assumed it was a neighbor. Then I saw my sister, Rachel, standing beside it. Rachel is 31. She's always been the more impulsive one in our family. She had bounced between jobs, apartments, and relationships for years. Whenever she had a problem, my parents usually helped her. I gotten used to it, but I wasn't prepared for what happened next. She walked through my front door carrying a box. Then another. Then another. I said, "Rachel, what's going on?" She didn't even stop walking. "I'm moving in." I thought I had misheard her. "You're what?" She sighed. "I'm moving in. Mom said you had space." I looked at my mother. My mother suddenly became very interested in something on the kitchen counter. I looked back at Rachel. "Okay, who told you that?" "Mom and Dad." I actually laughed again. "That's not happening." Rachel stopped. "What? You're not moving into my house." She stared at me like I just announced I was selling the family dog. Then she said, "Where am I supposed to go?" I said, "That's not my responsibility." She looked toward my parents. My mom finally spoke. She's your sister. I said, I know. She's family. I know that too. My dad walked into the room. He had apparently been waiting for this conversation. He said, she's only going to stay until she gets back on her feet. Asked, how long? Nobody answered. So I asked again, how long? Rachel finally said, maybe a few months. I shook my head. No. My mother's face changed instantly. She went from worried to angry. Why are you acting like this? Because I didn't agree to this. My dad said, your mother and I already told her she could stay. I stared at him. Then I said, you don't get to invite people into my house. My dad's expression hardened. After everything we've done for you? And there it was. The guilt. The sentence I'd been expecting. I reminded them that I had invited them into my house. I had not invited my sister. My dad said I was being selfish. My mom said Rachel was going through a difficult time. Apparently, Rachel had lost her apartment after falling behind on rent. She had also broken up with her boyfriend, and according to my parents, she needed somewhere safe to stay. I understood that. I really did. But understanding someone's situation doesn't mean you have to surrender your home to them. I told Rachel, I'll help you find another apartment. I'll even help you with the deposit if it's reasonable. But you cannot move in here. She crossed her arms. Why not? Because I don't want another person living here. She laughed. You let mom and dad live here. Because I invited them. That apparently made me the villain. Rachel started crying. My mother immediately hugged her. Then my mom looked at me and said, congratulations. You made your sister cry. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I said, I'm not responsible for her emotions because I said no. Nobody answered. Then Rachel picked up her phone. She made a call. And that's when I realized something was seriously wrong. Guys, she said, yeah, I'm going to need the movers to keep unloading. I stepped in front of the door. No. Rachel looked at me. Then my father stepped between us. Don't embarrass yourself. I said, Dad, get out of my way. He didn't. So I told the movers, I'm the homeowner. She does not have permission to move anything inside. The movers looked extremely uncomfortable. One of them asked Rachel, do you have a lease? She said no. They looked at me. I said, please don't unload anything. Rachel started yelling. My mom started crying. My dad called me selfish. And the neighbors were starting to look through their windows. Eventually, the movers left. Rachel was furious. But I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. That night, I went to my office to work. Except my desk had been moved. My computer monitor was unplugged. My chair was gone. And there were several of Rachel's boxes sitting in the room. I stood there for several seconds. Then I walked downstairs. Who went into my office? Silence. I asked again. My dad finally said, we needed somewhere to put Rachel's things. I said, you moved my work equipment? My mother said, it's only temporary. I laughed. Temporary. Then I looked at my sister. Where are you sleeping tonight? She said, I'm staying here. I said, no, you're not. My father slammed his hand against the table. Enough. I stared at him. He said, your mother and I are your parents. Rachel is your sister. You have 3 bedrooms. Why are you making everyone miserable? I said, because this is my home. He responded, it's a family home. That sentence changed everything. Because I suddenly understood how they were thinking. They didn't see me as the person who owned the house. They saw me as the youngest person in the family who had somehow gotten lucky. And because I had more money than them, they believed I owed everyone access to it. The next morning, I did something I probably should have done sooner. I checked my home security cameras. I'd installed them because I travel occasionally and wanted to keep an eye on the property. I reviewed the footage from the previous 2 days. And that's when I saw something that made my stomach drop. My father had been showing Rachel around the house while I was at work. He showed her the guest room, the kitchen, the garage, and then my office. But it got worse. They were measuring the walls. I watched my mother point at the office and say something. I couldn't hear the conversation. But then Rachel nodded. And my father handed her a set of keys. My keys. I immediately checked my key drawer. The spare key was gone. I went downstairs. I held up the key. "Where did you get this?" My father looked at it, then at me. He didn't answer. I asked again, "Where did you get this key?" My mother said, "Your father had it." "Why?" "So Rachel can come and go." I stared at them. My own parents had given my sister a key to my house without asking me. Then I asked the question I should have asked much earlier. "What exactly did you promise Rachel?" Nobody answered. I looked at my sister. She finally said, "Mom and Dad told me I could stay here until I could afford my own place." "How long?" She shrugged. "However long it takes." I said, "And the office?" She looked at my parents. My mother answered for her. "Rachel works from home now." I couldn't believe it. "So you promised her my office too?" My mom said, "You barely use it outside working hours." I stared at her. "That's where I work." She rolled her eyes. "You can work from the dining table." And that was it. Something inside me just snapped. I told my parents they had until Sunday evening to leave. All three of them. The house went completely silent. My dad laughed. "You're kicking your parents out?" I said, "Yes." My mother started crying again. Rachel called me cruel. My dad threatened to stop speaking to me. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just repeated, "Sunday evening." Then I went upstairs. For the first time since they had moved in, I locked my office door. The next 3 days were miserable. My parents barely spoke to me. Rachel told relatives that I was throwing my entire family onto the street. My aunt called me. My cousin texted me. Even a family friend somehow heard about it. Everyone had an opinion, but nobody asked me what happened. They just heard that I had a house and 3 family members who needed somewhere to live. So apparently I was automatically wrong. Then something unexpected happened. My mother called me privately. She wasn't crying this time. She said, "Your sister told us something." I asked what. She said you offered to help her with the deposit. Yes. She said you offered to pay 3 months of rent. I paused. I said I would help with the deposit and maybe the first month. I never promised 3 months. My mother went quiet. Then she said, "Why didn't you tell us?" I laughed bitterly. Because I didn't think I needed permission to decide how I spend my money. There was another silence. Then my mother said something I wasn't expecting. "Your father thinks you've changed." I said, "Maybe I have." And I meant it. Because I had spent years thinking being a good son meant saying yes whenever my family needed something. But somewhere along the way, saying yes had turned into an obligation. And nobody had asked whether I could keep saying yes forever. Sunday arrived. My parents packed their things. Rachel refused at first. She said she had nowhere to go. I told her I had already found 3 apartments within her budget. She said she didn't like them. I said, "That's okay. You can choose another one." Then she said, "You'll regret this." Maybe I would. But I didn't change my mind. Before they left, my father stood at the front door. He looked around the house. Then he said, "You'll understand someday." I said, "Maybe." He looked surprised. Then I added, "But I hope when I have children, I teach them that helping someone doesn't mean they own a piece of your life." He didn't respond. They left. Rachel left with them. And for the first time in 3 weeks, my house was quiet. The strange part is that I expected to feel guilty. Instead, I felt relieved. I cleaned the kitchen, put my furniture back, reconnected my computer, changed the locks, and I finally had my home office back. 2 weeks later, my mother called me. She told me Rachel had found an apartment. I asked if she was okay. My mother said, "She is." Then she paused. She actually apologized. I didn't expect that. Apparently, Rachel had been angry because she thought I was choosing money over family. But once she started paying for her own apartment, she realized how much my parents had been shielding her from reality. My mother also apologized. My father didn't. Not yet anyway. But he stopped telling relatives that I had abandoned my family. That was progress. As for my relationship with my parents, it's still complicated. They don't live with me anymore. And they don't have a key to my house. I still help them when I genuinely want to. I still visit. I still answer their calls. But there's a difference now. I help because I choose to, Not because someone tells me I'm selfish if I don't. And that's the lesson I wish I'd learned earlier. Sometimes people don't realize they've crossed your boundaries because you've spent years letting them cross every boundary you have. The moment you finally say no, they act like you became a different person. Maybe you did. Maybe that's the point. Because my parents didn't lose their son that week. My sister didn't lose her brother. They just lost unlimited access to something that was never theirs. My house. And honestly, I'm okay with that.